Hi there, Tracy here with a scrapbooking process video using the Gale Song kit and add-on from the Scraptastic Kit Club, which is the February kit from 2016. And I'm just pulling out the kit right there. I keep it in these little pockets these days. Well, just this month I'm trying something a little bit different. This is a pocket page by Creative Memories. I'm just trying to show you the logo there. There you go. And I don't know exactly what they're called or if they still make them, but my friend Tanya gave me those, or I think I bought them, or I can't. No. I actually bought those when I was very, very new to scrapbooking. And I met somebody who sold Creative Memories stuff, and I bought some stuff from her. So that is where I got it. It's very, very, very old. For me, I mean, I've only been scrapbooking since 2009, so it's old for me. I'm just having a look at the pattern paper that comes in the kit, and you see me making a big pile in the center there, and then these things I'm keeping off to the side. These are the less soft items, and so I'm just putting them back in the package, back in that pocket, but I left it so that that cut apart was on the top so that I can still see it. I love that that pocket is see-through because I can still see the top thing. So at this point, I think I'm going to use this as my background paper. It's an exclusive Scraptastic paper, and so I'm just going to write that down on my list, even though it's not the background paper I'm going to end up using. So this is my ingredient list that I use so that I have easy access to all the items that I've used in my layout while I'm narrating my videos. And it's just a little template that I use. I just print up a whole bunch of them, and then I can write down my stuff as I go. So this photo is the one that I'm going to use, and I'm actually going to talk a little bit about this photo and about my process live in the video. So first I went over to my sewing machine, and I'm using gold thread here to outline two large triangles on my background paper. And so I just went down the center on the yellow side, and now I'm going down the center on the black and white side. And then I'm going to kind of go, oh, that looks kind of cool when it's on fast forward. It looks like it's just floating there. Anyhow, and then I'm just going to go on those two right angles and connect it all up to make a triangle of stitching. And then I'm going to do the same on the yellow side. I'm sorry for all the bumping around, but I thought I would give you a different perspective so that you could see that I'm lining up the paper with the markings on the bottom of my sewing machine, and that allows me to sew a very, very straight line as long as I follow it. It's so straight. So there we go. Next, I'm here back at my craft table, and I'm just cutting off all of the stray lines. And in just a few seconds, I'm going to start talking to you live in the video. So hang on for that. So just a little bit of information about my process here. This is the photo that I'm scrapbooking today. I took this photo this morning, and this is what my daughter looked like when she woke up this morning. She did get herself dressed, but she hadn't brushed her hair yet, and she just looked so beautiful sitting there with the sunshine coming in from I have a big window like right here, and she's sort of looking out the window, laying down on my bed, and she just looked so pretty there that I just had to take her picture. And she's got, like, you can see where she has very colorful tips on the bottom of her hair, and it's right now it's kind of changes color depending on how long it's been since it's been dyed, but right now it's these really soft shades of peach and orange and pink, and a little tiny bit of purple is still in there, and it just looks so soft and beautiful and warm that I wanted to scrapbook this picture of her messy bun. And she also has this little thing that she just bought yesterday with her own money from Claire's, and it's just a little thing that you put in your hair for when you braid it, and she just put it in last night because she was so excited to have it. So I wanted to capture this photo, but the reason I'm talking to you now live instead of on narration is that I wanted to talk a little bit about the things I'm going to choose for this. So I'm going to use this diagonal pattern paper that came in the kit. This was a Scraptastic exclusive paper, and I really love how it's this photorealistic paper with roses on it, and I really like how it's on the diagonal, and it, as a background paper it's perfect because it's bold and interesting in that it's a big, huge photo, and it has the kind of diagonally different black and white down here and then yellow up here. So it is a very eye-catching background, but it's also soft enough that it's not going to take away from the photo necessarily. I hope. We'll see. Once you put some patterns and stuff around it. I sometimes do a last-minute switch of my background, so you never know. I might not stick with this, but so far I'm thinking I can probably make this work. I like the warmth of the yellows, and there's lots of yellows in the way that the light is hitting her hair here. And I do have a filter on. It's called the Photo Glam. I think it's called Photo Glam. Something about glam, and it's in Snapseed. That's the filter that I put on that. And it just blows out all the white parts and warms up all the other parts, and it softens everything. So I really like that filter a lot, and that's in Snapseed, which is an app for your phone. And I've selected all of these pattern papers that have very soft patterns to them. So except this one is not all that soft. Except the color is soft, but the pattern itself is not soft, but I still really like it. And then the back side of this is really pretty as well. This is an exclusive paper from Scraptastic. So I have all of these. I especially like this for this, but I'm thinking it might be a little bit too similar. We'll see. I've chosen all soft items here, and I'm going to want to bring in some gold to pick up on the gold highlights in here. So you guys, I'm just going to reach across and get my add-on, my stash add-on for this kit. So I did do a video after I did my kit share video. I did another video that just showed some items that I'd be taking from my stash and maybe using this month. So I have this gold waffle paper from Stampin' Up, which I think might look really great on this layout. And I also have a larger sheet, but I just kept a little swatch here of this gold glitter paper. It's called POW from American Crafts. I don't even know if they still make it. It's quite old. So I have that, which also might look really nice. And I, of course, have Heidi Swapp Color Shine in gold, which I'm almost out of, but I do have a backup of that. And I have this gold. This is actually the thread that you use for sewing denim. And that has that nice gold accent as well. I have some gold washi tape here that I might use as well. And some of the other things that I picked out for this color add-on are brighter colors that I might not necessarily use on this, although it might be nice to pick up on the hit of turquoise and bright pink that are just here. This is probably like the brightest part of her hair there, and then this turquoise bead. And that might be a nice contrast. So I do have some items that are those colors if I want to bring in a hit of color. And I also have inks and this. So I'm just going to kind of keep these things in mind. They're more for the embellishing phase, but I'm just going to put them up there so that I can access them if I need them and not forget about having them. The letters that I'm thinking about using, oh my goodness, there goes my voice again. Pardon me. Thinking about these letters, they really coordinate nicely and they would give a nice subtle touch. But if I want a more contrast, I also have these letters that came in the kit as well. So these are my 2 letter options that I'm thinking about, just depending on which look I want. By the time I get to that point, I will either be happy with the amount of contrast that I have and I might go with a subtle title, or I might feel like this really needs something bold, so I'll add this as my title. So we'll see. I don't know how this process is going to go. I rarely ever plan my layouts, so I would tell you if it was planned. Typically, if I don't say that, then I'm just kind of winging it, and I'm winging it today. So this might be a really good layout for me to bring in some textured items from my stash. So if I do that, I'll stop and talk about that as well. Or maybe some doilies might be nice on this one. So those are some ideas that I'm just kind of keeping in the back of my head as I put this layout together. So we'll go back to the process now. Okay, so first I'm going to go ahead and mat this photo with this piece of black cardstock that came in the kit. I have already used this cardstock for other things, and so all I have left is this little swatch of it. And when I moved too quickly, or I don't know, I think I just I moved the paper with my hand as I was cutting it, so it came out not straight. So I'm just going to use the other side of that paper to cut it nice and straight this time. Keeping the paper still while you cut it is important. It seems pretty obvious. Yes, so now that matting of that photo gives it quite a lot of emphasis, and that's especially important with this layout, that I feel like there's going to be a lot of boldness going on around the back of this photo, just with that background paper and that sort of thing. So I really want to emphasize the photo amongst all of the busyness that could be on this layout. So I really love this paper. I like the softness of it. It's pink with these black polka dots, but the polka dots are made up of polka dots. And I really like it. I'm just using my ruler to make all 4 edges be ripped and torn. That's just another thing that's going to make this have that really soft look that I said a few minutes ago that I was really looking for in this. And what made me take this cut apart is actually the blue strip in the middle of this one, that darker blue. I thought with all of the oranges that could make their way onto this layout, I thought I wanted some blues to offset it a little bit. And blue is, I guess, kind of like an opposite color to the oranges. If you look on the color wheel, the oranges and yellows are on one side and then the blues are on the other side. So that's why this blue cut apart piece really caught my eye. Didn't cut my eye, it caught it. So I'm just cutting out the little fringes because I don't like fake things. It's kind of a bit of a pet peeve for me with scrapbooking embellishments. I don't like it when things look like something when they could actually be something. So I'm just cutting out the fringes, and I want to have a bit of a layered look, so I'm kind of replicating the look that you get with those fringed hearts from Maggie Holmes that came in the same Bloom collection, and we did indeed get some of those fringe hearts in the kit this month. I have used up 3 out of the 4 of them, but I actually didn't want to use a fringed heart on this one. I just wanted a fringed rectangle because I'm going to use this as the basis of some other layering. And at this point, I have no idea what's going to go on it. At this point, I actually think that it's going to hang behind my photo like this. But when I'm finished with it, I'm actually going to end up liking it so much that I'm not going to want to do that anymore. So here's the top layer. So you saw me cut the bottom layer, and now here I am cutting the top layer with a 3rd piece of this paper. So these top 2 layers, the middle one and the top one, are all cut from this piece of pattern paper from the Maggie Holmes Bloom collection that came in the kit, and the bottom one is from the cut apart, also from the Maggie Holmes Bloom collection that came in the kit. So now I have these 3 layers, and I'm going to go off to my sewing machine in just a few minutes. And first, I'm just going to cut this top layer so that it's a little bit shorter than the others, and I'm just mindful of the fact that I want to be able to see both the layers and the stitching. So I glued the bottom 2 layers together, but I'm not going to glue the top layer because I need to sew first. So, and I'm thinking about adding a bit of ribbon. That one looks quite nice. This is what is it called? It is called Smoky Slate 1/8 inch taffeta ribbon. And I just used my ATG to attach it there. And here I am over at my sewing machine. And here I'm gluing the bottom 2 layers together. Not gluing, I'm sewing them. And I have gold thread in place. And now I am sewing the top layer in place. And I just sewed right over the thread, and then I'm putting a 3rd line of sewing just on the top layer as well, just more for decorative purposes than anything else. And when I did that, my thread broke because my needle is pretty gooped up. Yeah, really gooped up. Actually, I'm going to end up breaking the needle on the next time I use it. I'm not sure if that's going to make this video or not. So I'm just taking that's a wet baby wipe, and I'm just You should really turn off your machine before you do this, because if I had accidentally pressed my presser foot while I was doing that, I would have sewn right through my finger. Or if my cat had walked on it, for example, it's always good to be safe. So I wouldn't recommend doing what I just did. I kind of had a bit of a heart attack when I just saw what I did, actually. I should not have done that. I'm usually very cautious. Anyhow, there were no accidents. No fingers got sewn in the making of this video, which is good. And that's my finished product. I'm just going to cut off that top piece of green, which was always the plan all along because I didn't really like that color. I just was leaving it on there so that the whole thing would be a little bit more manageable. And now I had there was this fringe left on the top, and I thought, again, why have it be a fake fringe when I could very easily make it be a real fringe? So I just took my little cutter bee scissors, because they're a little bit more precise, and cut that up. And I just showed you the close-up. And I actually took a photo of this in case I wanted to use it on the blog. So I will insert one of the photos right here so you can see it up close. And there it is up close, and I really love the details that the gold thread gives and that nice finishing touch of the ribbon. It looks really great. I love this embellishment. In fact, I love it so much that I no longer want to put it behind the photo. I'm just going to clean up all of the little stray bits of thread and paper that were cut when I made that fringe. And here I am back to my layers that I had cut. I must have been talking when I cut those layers because I don't remember explaining them, but basically when I was picking those papers, I chose from some of the soft ones that I had picked out and told you about already, and I wanted one that was pink because at this point there's no other pink on this layout, and I definitely want to pick up on some of the pink tones that are in her hair. And right now I'm picking I'm trimming up using my ruler to get a torn look, a really, really bold piece of pattern paper. And this is one tip I have for combining pattern papers. All of the patterns so far are very soft, and they're soft in color, and they're also soft in the pattern. And so I added that bold striped one just to be a little punch of energy in amongst the layers. And so here, as this layout comes together, I'm beginning to realize that that background paper is actually not going to work at all. So I went to my stash, and these are actually, I'm going to show you how I made this. So these are pieces of cardstock that when I made this, I thought were from the kit, but it turns out I had picked similar, I don't know how I ended up doing that, but I ended up gessoing completely different pieces of paper. So that's not exactly the same cardstock that came in the kit, but it is a pink cardstock that's been gessoed, and the pink cardstock that came in the kit is actually quite a bit darker than the one that I used. So if you want to replicate this layout and use the kit, you'll have to put a couple of more layers or apply your gesso more thickly than I did in order to get this same look. And if you don't have gesso, you could just use a watered down paint. Just put a tiny, tiny bit of water in it to make it a little bit more translucent so that you can still see the pink through it. I was planning on using that for a mixed media page, which is why I didn't really think about how evenly I was putting the gesso on the paper. It doesn't look too bad like that. It just kind of adds some interest. I think if I knew I was going to use it plain, I probably would have spread the gesso a little bit more evenly, but that's okay. It looks okay the way it is. So back to the pattern paper, you'll notice now that the pink piece is sort of disappearing, but by the end of the layout, it will look better than it looks right now. So I have a couple of pieces of that turquoisey, it's more of a mint green really, color, but it's a bluish mint green. So yeah, I'm just showing you the difference between the cardstock that came in the kit and then the cardstock with some gesso over it is quite a bit more washed out. Thinking about maybe using this die cut, I feel like I need something darkish and delicate under there. And then I got distracted here by the idea that I still had this piece of paper. Yay! I love this paper. It's so pretty. And I used a whole sheet of it as just a match somewhere. People left a lot of comments for me saying, oh, I can't believe you wasted that whole piece of paper. So here I am. I'm going to use it. I had 2 pieces of it, so I'm going to use it again today. I cut off a strip off for the top and the bottom of my layout. And then I also cut this. Now this is going to become my dark-ish delicate thing that I'm going to put under my photo. Remember I had that paper clip die cut out? That was a cut file from the kit. And if you belong to the Scraptastic Kit Club, you do get digital files every month. And if you need some help finding them, just let me know or go on the Facebook group and ask a question and we can get you all sorted out. Anyhow, I'm using my Cutter Bee scissors. These are precision scissors to just cut around. Using small scissors makes a huge difference in how easy it is to cut around a pattern like this or a design like this. And I just want to mention that when I'm cutting, first of all, I'm leaving a little blue border all the way around it. One of the things I love about this paper is that blue background. So I didn't want to cut too much of it off. So I'm leaving a nice comfortable blue border all the way around this cutout. And I'm also being very intentional about my curved lines and my points, because I think that one of the things that makes botanical prints so pretty is the combination of curves and points. So that I'm just writing myself a note there so that I can remember to talk to you guys about curves and corners. So when I'm cutting around a leaf and I want it to come to a point, I'm going to cut right off the page. Also, I'm just showing you that use your scissors, push them all the way down on your hand and hold your scissors still and move the hand that's holding the paper as opposed to moving the scissors. And now see, when I go to make that point, I just cut right off the page in order to do that. Now I'm going back and I'm just adding a couple of little tiny details to these buds because they had little lines sticking up and I didn't want to just kind of gloss over them with just an oval cut around it. I wanted to emphasize the fact that those are very delicate little ends where the little strands fall off the buds or whatever, you know what I mean. The little pieces of leaf that haven't opened yet. So there's that. This image looks so beautiful as a cutout piece. I just love it. So I'm going to put it down there. And, oh, it's so pretty. I love it so much. And I'm thinking if I put one there, I'm probably going to want one up in the top corner as well, in the top opposite corner of the photo. So for that one, I'm going to want a smaller piece. And because it's going to be right on the edge of the photo, I don't have to cut out a whole piece. So I'm just taking one off the edge. Now here you're going to get to see what I mean about snipping right off the leaves, I'll see if I can describe it the next time I do it. So I'm kind of going around and I'm being intentional about the curves. I want the curves to be really curvy. And then to get that tip, I just cut straight off the edge of the paper. And then I come back and make a clean point. And then I go back and if there were any parts that I made pointy when it should have been curvy, I just go back and I even those things out and make, just clean it up a little bit if I need to. But in this case, it looks like I didn't for this one. So sorry I forgot to zoom out here. I think I remember eventually, but what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to open up this piece of gold waffle paper from Stampin' Up. I'm actually going to show you another product that you can use instead if you don't have this. This they don't sell anymore and they only made it for a short time, so I'm not sure if many of you guys have this. If you do, it's an amazing product. Keep it and use it and don't think that it's too weird to use because it's absolutely gorgeous. At first, I didn't know if I'd use it, but I love, love, love it. So here I am with an entirely too big piece of it because that's just too much. So the reason I'm using this gold waffle paper is to bring texture and some gold into this layout. And see, that's more like the amount that I want to have showing. So I'm going to mat this piece of pattern paper with the waffle paper. So I've just cut it so that it's just a tiny, tiny bit bigger than the piece of paper that I'm trying to mat. And I really like how that looks, all crinkled up around the edges with the paper, with the waffle paper folding over the pattern paper. So this is that print that I wasn't sure if it would be too much the same as the background paper. Well, it definitely isn't now that the background paper has changed. And I'm just taking a few minutes there to ruffle up the edges and make it look all kind of tattered and folded and warped a little bit. Then my little flowers go there and there. I'm not a huge fan of florals. I don't use florals all that often in my pages, but I really, really love that paper, that blue Maggie Holmes paper. It's so pretty. Oh, I was just so happy when I saw it. I couldn't contain myself. Yeah, I'm glad that I didn't forget that I had a second piece of that. So I grabbed extra pieces of there's that product. So this is the metallic tissue paper that you can get at Michael's. It's the Celebrate It brand. And that, if you just crinkled it up, that would look just as good as the waffle paper from Stampin' Up! Looks. And now, again, I mentioned that I might want some more texture to add to the softness and kind of overall feel of this layout. So I grabbed that doily, but the problem with that doily is that it was making the overall layout look like it was a circle. And I didn't want that look because I'm going to be going with a diagonal design here. And I really like the rectangular look of the layers so far. So if I add a doily, I want to add that smaller one. I'm just looking for my extra piece of waffle paper right now. I can't find it. Because remember, I kept one for the top and one for the bottom, and then I lost one of them. So I just had a little scrap over there, and I think that's going to work better anyways. I like how it's sort of all tattered and gradually goes out to be a triangle. So you see that I ran out of ATG there. I'm going to change my ATG. I do have a slow video that describes step by step how to do this. So I'm not going to slow this process down right now. But this is just kind of what happens when you're scrapbooking. Sometimes you run out of things, and that actually happens a lot in this layout. This is the first little hiccup that I come to, which is the running out of my ATG. And I'm just going to really quickly change it for you here. It's much simpler than it looks. You just want to make sure that your tape runs below like that and just follows the arrow. And then you just follow the arrows on the machine, pull it up, and I give myself lots of extra, and then you just put it into the little loop. And again, I know I'm not describing it very quickly, very slowly here, but that's because I do have an entire video that goes through very slowly and shows you exactly how to do this. So, and I'll link to that one right here. There should be a little bubble somewhere in this video that will link through to that. So here I am. I'm just going to, again, do the same thing on the top that I just did at the bottom, which is adhere the waffle paper to the strip, to the back side of the strip, so that it looks like it's just kind of peeking out. And I just want to make it look a little bit more organic, so I just trimmed off a little bit of it there. I really like how that looks. I went over to my sewing machine, and I'm just doing a zigzag stitch all along the top, all along the edge. And then I'm kind of going to do some, and then I did it again on the bottom. And now I'm going to do some kind of back and forth. I'm taking it off of the zigzag and just putting it on a straight stitch. And I broke the needle. So I'm just going to fix that up, grab myself another needle and fix that. And then we'll pick up where we left off over at my workstation. So there's the finished product. I've got some zigzag stitching and some back and forth straight stitching. Broke my needle twice while I was doing that, and so I think I just need to get my machine fixed. It's all gooped up from sewing over glue, so you just need to have your machine serviced every once in a while, and it's time for me. So I'm just putting all of those layers back the way that I remembered them being. I no longer need this paper clip die cut because I have the delicacy. I don't think I've ever used the word that way. I'm not sure if that's the proper way to use it, but I have the delicateness of the of the flowers now, so I don't need those paper clips anymore. Now I have some die cuts and pieces that came in the kits. These little dishes are little leather dishes that pinch together and to make a dish, and they're from Indigo, or Chapters Indigo, which is a Canadian bookstore. And I'm just having a look at some of the embellishments that come in the kit, and anything that I think I might use I'm just putting out here alongside the layout. I like that love die cut and the butterfly over there, and I'm basically thinking about having 2 clusters of embellishment around my photos. So one is down where it says hello, love, and fabulous, and the swan, and then the other one is up in the corner here. So basically I'm layering my clusters right around where I had put those rose cutouts. And now I'm putting an XOX down in the bottom right-hand corner, and then I'm also going to put something in the top left-hand corner, and that will give me a diagonal design on this layout. That tag is way too large for up there, but I can cut it down so that I'm still getting the negative heart design, and that'll look quite interesting with the pattern paper and the waffle paper sticking out behind. And I'm just placing things roughly where I think they might end up going. And I love using the gold elements from the Maggie Holmes die cuts that came in the kit. So all of the die cuts that I've used so far have all been, that I've placed everywhere, are all from the Maggie Holmes Bloom collection die cuts that came in the kit. And now I'm playing with that title idea that I had, which is hashtag I woke up like this. And so I'm trying to think about what words I have enough letters to spell. So I have enough letters to spell woke up, but I don't have an S, so I can't do the whole thing woke up like this. I also don't have another E, so I can't do like. So I'm going to do hashtag I woke up in these letters, and then I'm going to choose a smaller letter from my stash to put like this. And I really am loving the idea of making this title look disheveled like she does, like her hair is, and like you tend to look when you first wake up. So I really like the disheveled, layered on top of one another, messy look of this title. So I have it all spelled out there, and now I'm just looking for some letter stickers. And as soon as I saw these Avalicious Puffy stickers, I knew I wanted to use them on the second part of this title. So these came in a previous kit from Scraptastic. So if you've been a member for a while, you might have these letters in your kit or in your stash. I didn't get to use them at all the month that they were included in a kit, so I'm really pleased to be using them today. They are by Avalicious, and they are called Gold Dot Alpha Puffy stickers. And they're just perfect. I love, love, love them. And now I'm going to replace one of those O's with an O from the letters, from the chipboard letters. Those are by Pink Paisley, of course. Those chipboard letters, I'm taking the O and adding it to the XOX, just because it was a little much down there, like those 3 heavily glittered letters. So replacing one of them that's half foil and half white is just tones that down just a little bit. And I'm taking a picture so that I can replace all these things. Basically, at this point, everything is just piled and nothing is adhered at this point. So I'm using my Stampin' Up! Mini stapler. And this is actually, I'm glad that I have this slightly larger. This is a slightly larger attacher, like stapler, than the tiny attacher. And because these letters are fairly big and I'm going to staple them all in place, I'm really happy to have a slightly larger stapler. I think full-size staples would have been a little bit too much, and the tiny attacher I don't think would have caught as many of the letter stickers or gone through quite as many layers as this Stampin' Up! Attacher did. So there you go. Already, that's one of my newer purchases, and I'm just pleased to have a reason to have a third stapler in my stash. I need to justify buying a third stapler. So I'm going to put the W so that it sits on top of the I and the O. And so I decided to glue down the I and the O so that they will so that it'll make the stapling process just a lot easier. So I'm going to overlap those and staple, and then overlap those and staple. And then put the K. And I'm trying to not only overlap, but also make them a little bit askew, so that it does have that kind of disheveled look that I was talking about. Hashtag I woke up. And then when I place the like this, I'm going to try to make those look pretty disheveled as well. I can't layer them quite as much because they're small, puffy thickers. I layered them a little tiny bit, but they're not quite as layered as the chipboard stickers are, but they're still quite disheveled looking. And I just took my stapler and I ran out of staples, of course. Ran out of ATG, broke a needle, ran out of staples. I don't know if more bad things could happen on this layout. Oh, I also didn't have enough letters to do the title I really wanted, but that's okay. Those Avalicious stickers look really great there. I like to use only stuff from the kit as much as I can, because I know that those of you who get the kits and want to recreate or scrap lift these can easily do so if I only use the things in the kit. But in this case, I really love this title and I just didn't have the right letters, so I did go into my stash for it. So I'm just layering 2 of those heart die cuts from the Maggie Holmes die cut collection, and I'm layering it on top of that gold foiled butterfly that came in the kit. And I'm going to go ahead and start adhering some of these things. So once the cut apart, that cutout flower was in place, I could put the photo on that blue paper. It's not blue, it's actually a gray mottled like floral paper there. And then I just pulled it back to do the right hand side. And I'm just layering it so that you can see some of the leaves sticking out around that ruffled fringe rectangle thing that I made. And I really love how this swan looks with the Hello Love stapled to the front of it. It almost looks like the swan is holding a little sign that says Hello Love. And I'm just using some pop dots to pop him up off of the page a little bit. It's really cute. And I talked before about the idea of using swans to represent kind of coming into your own or kind of natural beauty and that sort of thing. So I'm going to put those doilies, those 2 halves of a doily, on the top and on the bottom. It just provides some softness without changing the overall shape of the layout, which that larger doily was going to change the shape of the layout. So that's the difference there. I think I started to say that and then I stopped. Now this paper that I'm just gluing on now with the scallops on the other side of it, that's also from Maggie Holmes. And I had previously hand cut that scallop for another layout, and I didn't end up using that piece, so I just have it on here. And I like the just little bit of interest that it adds by having that hand cut scallop on the right hand side there underneath the swan. And then that very back layer, the very, very back one, is also it's a piece of Scraptastic exclusive paper, and it just softens it up a little bit and gives you one more thing under that bold pattern paper of the black and white stripe. So I felt like I needed something else black, because the black swan on that bottom right-hand corner looks really great, but I needed something black up in this corner, just to balance it off a little bit. So I took that Happy Memory cut apart from the Maggie Holmes sheet, and I'm just going to stick it between the butterfly and the hearts. And now I needed more blackness to just spread around the layout, and so this is where having punches is really, really handy. It's a really great basic supply to have on hand, because you can take anything in the kit that is a pattern that you like and make some little shapes out of it and then spread it around the layout. So this allows me to get some black up in the top corner here, and I just stapled the hashtag in place with the heart below it. And Then I'm going to spread the rest of those punch out hearts in different places. And so I'm just adhering the pieces and sticking them back in where they were before. I like that love, how you can tell that it says love even though you can't see the E. And I just layered the butterfly so that it's right below the word love and kind of pointing towards it. More black punch outs with that's the Heart to Heart Stampin' Up! Punch. If you can find that one, if you can ever find it used, or if you have it in your stash, make sure you get the full use out of it. They don't make that one anymore, and it's one of my very, very favorite punches. It's very versatile. It gives you like three imperfect hearts that are not only imperfect, but they're also different from each other, which is nice for spreading hearts around your layout. So now that this whole big hunk of layers is all together, I just put some ATG on the bottom of it and put it in place. Now that black heart will go beside the butterfly wing, and another black heart over there behind the swan, and then 2 black hearts up here. And now if you look at the layout right now, it looks a little bland. It's lacking color. And this is where I want to bring some pinks into the layout. This is a flag paperclip that came in the kit. It's the white one with a red heart on it, but the red heart is so dark that you can't even really tell that it's red. It's sort of like a burgundy blackish color. So it works well, even though there's no red anywhere else on the layout. I just like the little bit of extra interest that it gives there up in that top cluster. And I need to bring some color. This layout really needs some pink. It needs some pops of pink, because right now her hair is the only thing that has that warm orangey pinky look to it. And so here's a piece from the cut apart sheet from Maggie Holmes from the Bloom collection. It's just this tiny little piece, and I cut it in half, and I'm just using my Tim Holtz distressing tool to add some interest to the edges of it. And I'm just going to stick it behind the photo like that. That piece was a little bit too big, so I just cut it off and stuck it there. I'm gonna just add some adhesive there and put it in place. And just adding that one little bit of color really brings your eye into the hairdo here. I love how adding little tiny details like that can make a big difference. Now, this is my Martha Stewart Heart Confetti Punch, and I'm actually not going to use it. I used it on something, and then I didn't like the resulting hearts. They were too pale pink, but I also didn't like the shape of them. So I'm not much of a flower person, and this set of die cuts comes with a huge number of these very pretty flower die cuts, and they're actually really gorgeous, and I felt a little bad to punch them up like this, but I know myself, and I know that I'm not very likely to use that many florals, so I'm just taking one of the more vivid colored ones, and I'm just punching it apart with my punch and getting lots of little tiny brighter pink hearts. And I'm doing a little bit of switching here where there were 2 black hearts up there. I'm switching it so that there's a black and a pink. And then here, I'm going to change this around a little bit. I just ran out of space on that die cut to punch from, so I grabbed another one that had some more of that vivid pink. This is actually a better color because it's more of a warm orangey pink. It's got a bit of a peach hue to it, so this is actually a better color than the other one. I'm just using my 2-way zig glue pen to glue these in place. It just allows me a little bit more control over the flow of the glue, and it goes where I want it to go. Put another die cut or punched heart down there by the XOX, and then also a black one. So basically in all the little clusters, I have a total of 4 clusters on this layout. So there's the bottom XOXO, the one with the swan, the one with the butterfly, and then the one at the top by the title. And they all go in a diagonal around the photo. And I want a little bit of pink, a little bit of black, and a little bit of gold in all of those embellishment clusters. And so here I am looking through my enamel dots, and I picked out some gold. I knew I had some gold, I just couldn't find it. This is Fancy That by My Mind's Eye. These are little enamel bows and hearts and dots, and they're really, really cute. And they had some gold in there. So I'm just taking the gold ones and I'm just spreading them around the layout in a couple of different places. And there's also a cream colored and some black that I'm going to use as well. So I'm choosing the cream, the black, and the gold. And I'm just spreading them around so that, and again, I'm just showing you there that I'm following the diagonal. And I want them to show up in all of the places, basically. And there's one down at the bottom too. It's just off screen, so you can't quite see it. And then I also have those Bow Bunny gems that are very different supply for me. I don't usually use these sorts of things, but I have them in my stash from a crop that I went to where I just needed one, and I bought a whole package for like one bling because I didn't have any with me. So I'm just cutting up this strip and I'm putting it in 3 different places to create a bit of a visual triangle with this element. And it's going to go right there on that heart, which was looking rather plain until I put that there. So it does a good job of dressing up that heart on the swan's wing. And now I'm just looking to do some splatter. So I have this piece of cardstock that I'm using to mask. And I'm masking off the opposite diagonal so that my splatter will land on this diagonal. And I'm starting with some Heidi Swapp gold, and I'm sprinkling it from way up high. It's actually about 30 inches up, and that's giving me some really fine splatter. And then I'm also splattering from down low, which is giving me some medium splatter. And I am going to dry it in between because I'm going to layer this gold splatter with some black splatter, and I don't want the two to mix. And because my background is gessoed, these inks are going to pool up on the background paper and create, as opposed to sinking in. So it's going to result in a longer drying time, and so I have to be a lot more patient about drying these splatters before I add more. So I'm just checking out the design as I go and making sure that they're landing in similar places. That one very large black splot was accidental. I didn't really want a huge ginormous one like that, but it's okay. That's part of the random nature of using ink splatter, is that it lands in random places and you kind of have to go with it. Now you might notice that I did wipe some off. There was some landed a little bit too high on the bottom right-hand corner, and because the background is gessoed, I had a little bit more flexibility and just took a wet baby wipe and right away wiped off some of that. And that's because it wasn't exactly going along that diagonal splatter, that diagonal line that I was looking for. And so that's one of the benefits of splattering on gesso, is that it is a little bit more forgiving. Also, it makes, because it doesn't sink into the paper quite as much, it makes really bold splats that keep their circular shape. So I just was, the black wasn't landing in quite the right places, so I did a lot of masking there so that I could make sure that I got some black splatter on that spot. Also, I'll just mention to you that that flag is plastic, and if you're using a heat gun on it, be very, very careful because mine was starting to melt. So here are some photos of this layout. Thanks so much for watching, and have a really great scrappy week.